Hi guys, welcome back to Pine Bell Art Classes. This week we're going to do a little practice that we do in the classes. It's just getting used to working with the watercolours and how they mix and using fine liners. Now the fine liners we are using are water soluble, which means they aren't permanent, so they will spread into the watercolour. And I've got a few pictures of bugs in front of me, and what I'm going to do is choose the ones that I think are most interesting shapes, and I'm going to draw them in a really sketchy random manner. I'm just getting the basic shapes in and putting some legs on them, and if they've got little antennae or anything, putting them on them too. Now, doing something like this instead of doing a full-on picture is really good practice, because what it would help you do is learn how to mix colours, how they work when you're putting water on top of them, and all of these different things without the pressure of kind of mucking it up halfway through. So the thing is you tend to be a lot more adventurous if you're doing something that's quite quick and simple, and you'll learn a lot more this way. So what we're doing is just doing some general shapes. When it comes to wings, you can see I'm just putting a general idea of how wide the wings are in, just so that I know that the next bug isn't going to cross over. But really we'll put the wings in with the watercolour more. So once I've done some of the bugs that I find interesting, I'm going to get all of my colours and I'm going to put them all in one little thing, one of those little dishes each, and then I'm going to add some water to them, and then I'm going to mix up my colours as I go. So I'm going to use all of my palette for all of the colours. So I've got a cool red, a warm red, a cool yellow, a warm yellow, a cool blue and a warm blue, and a cool brown, just to help out a little bit. And I'm just going to liquefy all of these so that they're ready to work with, and I can start mixing my colours. I'm going to do one bug at a time. So the first bug was brown and black, and I'm going to make the black, but I'm actually going to add some blue into it just to make it a bit more interesting, and the brown was kind of like a mid between that brown and that yellow ochre. So you can see I've added some blue on top of that black and some brown, and I've splattered him. Now when it comes to the next bug, he was also brown and black, but instead of doing him that colour, because I want to make new colours and learn about colours, I'm actually going to choose two colours that are kind of dark and mid-tone. So I'm going to choose purple and green, and then I'm going to add a little bit of brown into the bottom of it. So what I want you to do when you're doing this is learn about colour mixing. So if you get lots of bugs that are the same colour, I want you to think of colours that you can put instead of that in there. So I decided to do a blue butterfly, and I think the bottom butterfly I did orange and pink. But what I want you to do is kind of put loads of colours in, touch them in. Also you can see there sometimes I'm just adding plain water as well. Now this will give you cauliflowers. You'll start learning how different times that you put the different colours in will affect how they dry and how they finish up. And it's really interesting to see this, and it's also really interesting to do it on a tiny picture that you could do like 5 or 6 times over in a day. So you can see I'm touching different colours in, and when the body is, I'm not waiting for it to dry before I'm putting the body in, so the body spreads out as well. Now we are going to come back in with black pen later, so if you lose any of the shape of your bugs, don't worry about it, because we can put it back in at a later stage. Now when I came down to this bottom bug, I think he was green, but I put in a base of brown and yellow ochre, and then I started putting green over the top of them. And actually what you'll find with these little bugs is the more colours you put in, the more wonderful they look when they're dry. What this also really helps you see is how watercolours dry. They dry very differently to how they look when they're wet. They can have cauliflowers, they can have like weird tie-dye effects, and if you're very, very new to doing watercolours, this is a really good way of giving yourself an idea of how they work and how they look when they're dry rather than how they look when they're wet. So you can see there I'm just adding as many colours as I can think of. Now at this point when I'm getting to the last bug, I'm just thinking of the colours that I haven't used that much and putting some of them in it. I just want to have as many colours on the paper as possible. So I'm going to let that dry, and then when it's dry I'm going to see what I'm left with, and then I'm going to put some little labels on them. So now they're all dry, you can see how much different they look to how they were when they were wet. You've got kind of cauliflowers in that blue butterfly there. You've got all kinds of weird patterns going on that they've created. At the bottom right one looks very tie-dyed. Now I'm going in with some white pen and just giving myself some highlights on the little bugs. You could have put masking fluid in instead of doing it this way, but it's only a little practice one. I'm not putting it in all of them, just kind of giving myself an idea of where there's little stripes or highlights. Please excuse the shaky camera. And now I'm going to touch up, exactly like I said, where there is areas where it needs a little bit more kind of emphasis on the bodies and stuff. I'm just going to give myself little kind of outlines if I feel like I washed it out a little bit too much, separate wings and things like that. Now what I'm going to do is take this brown paper and I'm literally going to give myself little name tags. Now it's just a bit of fun this, and it's really fun to do, but you could do this for like a family and you could put all their names on underneath the bug that you thought represented them the most, maybe the bug that was their favourite colour. I mean, I tend to do these little splatty bugs for birthday cards, so I just do one little splatty bug like that, cut him out, stick him on a card with a little label underneath going party bug or something similar. And I just think that's a really cute little watercolour card that literally takes 2 minutes. You could do their names on them and their dates of births. Really, I was just making up names at this point, just as a bit of fun. But you can see how this picture literally took minutes to make, and it is a lot of fun. And it's a really good way of learning A, colour mixing, and B, how watercolours finish and how they work over the top of water-soluble pens, how the black ink going into the colours affects the colour. And it's a really fun thing, a fun little project just to start. I do this a lot of the time in my classes in Leighton Buzzard and in Dunstable, just because people enjoy doing it, and it just gives them something to kind of learn and see when they're doing the watercolours. They can actually see what happens to them and have a kind of decent little picture at the end of it. So you could frame this and have this as a little taxidermy thing, like I said, for a family member. Or you could just have it in your sketchbook. And that is it. You can see I didn't tape all the way around. It wasn't necessary for this picture because the paper's not going to buckle with this small amount of watercolour on it. It's just a little watercolour sketch, just a bit of fun. And there you go.